The telegram arrives at 3 a.m. Churchill reads it in his dressing gown, standing under a single bare bulb in the underground war rooms. The paper trembles in his hand. Stalin writes that 300,000 Soviet soldiers have been encircled near Kiev. He writes that if the Western Allies do not open a second front within weeks, the Red Army will collapse. He writes that history will remember who betrayed who. Churchill puts the telegram down. He lights a cigar, though it is his fifth that hour. His hands shake, not from fear, from the weight of knowing that he cannot do what Stalin demands. Britain has 40,000 trained soldiers ready for amphibious operations. Germany has 300,000 in France alone. The math is simple. The math is murder. He thinks about the boys he saw that morning during an inspection. 17 years old. Some lied about their age to enlist. They smiled at him, the Prime Minister, the man who promised them victory. They do not know that he lies awake every night listening to the bombs and calculating how many of them will die before this is over. In Moscow, Stalin reads the reply. Churchill refuses, promises future action, talks about supply convoys in North Africa. Stalin folds the paper carefully. Then he sweeps everything off his desk. Maps, pens, a glass of water. The glass shatters against the wall. His guards outside hear nothing. They know better than to enter when the glass breaks. Stalin walks to the window. He can see the spires of the Kremlin, dark against the night sky. He thinks about his son, Yakov, captured by the Germans. He thinks about the reports from Leningrad, where people are eating glue and leather. He thinks about the German divisions marching toward Moscow. He thinks about Churchill sitting in his safe island, drinking whiskey, smoking cigars, while Russians die by the million. He makes a decision. He will tell the Americans what Churchill refuses to say. He will split the alliance if he must. Washington, 6 weeks later. Roosevelt sits in the Oval Office, his legs useless beneath the desk. He hates that Stalin and Churchill see weakness in his paralysis. He compensates by being stronger than both of them combined. His military aide reads the latest intelligence. German U-boats are sinking supply ships faster than America can build them. The British Eighth Army is pinned in Egypt. The Red Army is bleeding out. Roosevelt lights a cigarette. He thinks about the election coming next year. He thinks about the mothers who will vote for him or against him based on how many telegrams they receive. He thinks about his own sons, all in uniform, all somewhere in the Pacific, where the Navy is fighting island by island against an enemy that does not surrender. He tells his aide to schedule a meeting, not with Churchill alone, with Stalin too, all three together, face to face. No more letters, no more telegrams. Men look each other in the eye when they decide who lives and who dies. November 1943, Tehran. The city is a fortress within a fortress. British soldiers, American soldiers, Soviet NKVD, all watching each other as much as they watch for Germans. The conference room is small for such men. A table, chairs, maps on the wall. Stalin arrives first. He wears a plain marshal's uniform without medals. He sits facing the door. He always sits facing the door. Churchill enters next. He carries papers, maps, a folder thick with plans and counterplans. He has prepared arguments for the Mediterranean, for Italy, for anywhere but France. He believes in peripheral strategy. Hit the edges, let the enemy bleed, then strike when he is weak. He believes this because he has already seen what happens when young men attack machine guns across open ground. He was at the Somme. He still hears the screams at night. Roosevelt enters last. His son carries him in his arms. lifts him from the wheelchair to the chair at the table. Stalin watches without expression. Churchill looks away. The moment passes. The meeting begins. Stalin speaks first. He does not ask. He demands. Where is the second front? When will the invasion happen? His generals tell him the Germans are transferring divisions from France to the east. Every week, more German troops arrive in Russia. Every week, more Russians die because the British and Americans sit in their safe islands and safe continents and do nothing. Churchill responds. He talks about the beaches, the tides, the moon phases, the landing craft, the air superiority, the intelligence, the German reserves, the Atlantic Wall, the bunkers, the machine guns, the artillery, the minefields, the underwater obstacles, the cliffs, the hedgerows, the panzer divisions waiting behind the coast. He talks for 20 minutes. He shows maps, he shows photographs, he shows charts. Stalin listens. Then he asks one question. Have the British lost their courage since Dunkirk? The room freezes. The translators stop translating. Everyone understands the words even without translation. Churchill's face goes red. He stands. He starts to speak. Roosevelt raises a hand. The president looks at Stalin and says that the invasion will happen in May, 1944. Not later. May. He gives his word as President of the United States. Stalin looks at Roosevelt, then at Churchill, then back at Roosevelt. He nods once. He says that the Red Army will launch its own offensive at the same time. He says that the German army will be crushed between two anvils. He says that history will remember this day as the beginning of the end. The meeting continues for 3 more days. They discuss borders, spheres of influence, what happens after the war. But the decision is made. The invasion is set. The date is chosen. The men who must execute it are not in this room. They are in camps and barracks and airfields across England. They are 18 years old. They have never seen combat. They will learn on beaches named Omaha, Utah, Gold, Juno, Sword. Back in London, 3 weeks after Tehran, a young American officer sits in a Quonset hut, reading intelligence reports. His name is unimportant. He is one of thousands. But what he reads will stay with him for the rest of his life. Aerial photographs of the French coast, bunkers 10 feet thick, gun emplacements overlooking every beach, underwater obstacles covered with mines. Rommel has been turning the coast into a fortress. Rommel, the desert fox, the man who never lost a battle until he ran out of supplies and fuel and men. The young officer puts the photographs down. He lights a cigarette, though he does not smoke. He thinks about the boys he trained with in Georgia, in Texas, in the Carolinas. He thinks about their faces. He thinks about the photographs on his desk. He does the math. The landing craft carry 30 men each. The Germans have machine guns that fire 1,200 rounds per minute. 30 men against 1,200 rounds per minute. The math is simple. The math is murder. He writes a report. He sends it up the chain. Somewhere above him, generals read it. Somewhere above them, Eisenhower reads it. Somewhere above everyone, Churchill and Roosevelt read it. They all know the same math. They all make the same calculation. The invasion will happen anyway. December, 1943. Southern England. Snow falls on the camps where American soldiers wait. They come from farms in Iowa, factories in Detroit, streets in Brooklyn. They have never been to Europe. They have never seen war. They sit in their barracks writing letters home. Dear Mom, don't worry about me. Dear Dad, I'll be home for Christmas. Dear sweetheart, wait for me. The letters are lies. They know it. Their officers know it. The male censors know it. But the letters get sent anyway, because what else can you do when you are 18, and you have seen the photographs of the beaches, and you know what is coming? In Berlin, Hitler celebrates Christmas at the Berghof. He gives speeches about the Atlantic Wall, about the fortress Europe, about the secret weapons that will turn the tide. His generals listen and say nothing. They have seen the reports from the East. They have seen the reports from the West. They know that the invasion is coming. They know that when it comes, everything will be decided in the first 24 hours. If the Allies get ashore, if they establish a beachhead, if they bring their tanks and their trucks and their endless supplies across the channel, then Germany loses. Not tomorrow, not next year, but eventually. The math is simple. Rommel inspects the beaches at Normandy in January. He walks the sand at low tide. He looks at the cliffs, the draws, the exits. He tells his engineers to plant more obstacles. He tells them to flood the fields behind the beaches. He tells them to sharpen the stakes and mine the approaches. He knows that the invasion will come here or at Pas-de-Calais. He bets on Pas-de-Calais because that is where the channel is narrowest, where the ports are closest, where the logistics make sense. But he prepares both. He is Rommel. He leaves nothing to chance. He stands on a cliff overlooking Omaha Beach. The wind cuts through his coat. He thinks about Africa, about the desert, about the war he almost won. He thinks about his son, fighting on the Eastern Front. He thinks about the letters his wife sends. Full of hope, he does not feel. He looks at the beach below, and he knows that soon it will be red. He just does not know whose blood will stain the sand. February, 1944. The planning reaches its final phase. Eisenhower moves into his headquarters at Norfolk House. He is supreme commander now. The weight of everything rests on his shoulders. He sleeps 4 hours a night. He drinks 15 cups of coffee a day. He reads every report, every photograph, every intelligence summary. He visits every division, every airfield, every port. He shakes hands with privates and colonels and generals. He looks them in the eye and tells them they will win. He does not tell them what the math says. One night, alone in his office, he writes a short statement. It is for release if the invasion fails. It says that the landing has been withdrawn, that the fault is his, that the men have done everything possible. He folds the paper and puts it in his wallet. He carries it with him everywhere. No one knows about it except his driver, who sees him writing one night and pretends not to notice. In the camps, the soldiers train. They climb cliffs. They wade through cold water. They blow up obstacles. They practice loading and unloading from landing craft. They do it again and again until they can do it in their sleep. The officers push them hard because the officers know that on the real beaches, the ones who hesitate die. The ones who freeze die. The ones who cannot think through the chaos die. A private from Pennsylvania writes in his diary. He writes about the cold, the mud, the endless drills. He writes about his friend from basic training who was transferred to another unit. He writes about the French girl in the photograph he carries, though he has never been to France, and the photograph is from a magazine. He writes that he is scared. Then he tears out the page and burns it, because soldiers are not supposed to be scared. March 1944. The bombing begins. Thousands of Allied aircraft attack railways, bridges, airfields, fuel depots across France and Belgium. The Germans know what it means. They are isolating the battlefield. They are preparing for the invasion. But they do not know where. The bombers hit everywhere. Pas-de-Calais gets the most because the Allies want the Germans to think that is the target. Normandy gets enough to be useful, but not enough to be suspicious. The deception works. The German High Command remains convinced that the main attack will come at the narrowest point. In London, the double agents send their reports. German intelligence believes they have sources inside the Allied command. They do not know that every source is controlled, every message is written by British intelligence, every word is designed to reinforce the lie about Pas-de-Calais. The spy game is as important as the soldier game. A single wrong message could shift a panzer division from the wrong place to the right place. A single panzer division could turn Omaha Beach into a slaughterhouse so terrible that the invasion fails before it begins. April, May. The days grow longer. The soldiers grow restless. They have trained for months. They are ready. They are terrified. They are 18 years old, and they have never killed anyone. And they are about to be asked to kill or be killed on a scale that human beings were not designed to comprehend. Eisenhower visits the paratroopers one last time. They are the ones who will go in first, hours before the beach landings. They will drop behind enemy lines in the dark, alone, scattered, carrying heavy equipment, and facing an enemy who knows the ground and waits in the shadows. Their casualties are expected to be 80% in the first night. 80%. Eisenhower walks among them and shakes their hands and thanks them. He does not tell them about the 80%. They know. They have done the math. The last week of May. The camps are sealed. No one enters. No one leaves. The soldiers write their final letters home. The officers check their equipment for the 100th time. The chaplains hold services for every denomination because on the beaches, God is the only thing left when the bullets start. In the English Channel, the minesweepers begin their work. They clear paths through the German minefields, working at night, silent, invisible. If the Germans discover them, the surprise is lost. If the surprise is lost, the invasion fails. If the invasion fails, the war continues for another year, another 2 years, another million dead. The men on the minesweepers are sailors. They are not supposed to be heroes. They just sweep mines. But when the invasion comes, they will be the first ones in and the last ones out. They will watch the landing craft pass them on the way to the beaches. They will hear the guns start. They will see the smoke rise, and they will know that history is happening in front of them while they sit on their little ships doing their little job. May 31st, 1944. The Supreme Commander makes his final decision. The invasion will launch on June 5th, weather permitting. If the weather is bad, they wait. If the weather is too bad for too long, they lose the tide and the moon, and the whole plan unravels. Eisenhower looks at the forecast. It is not good. He looks at the calendar. There are only 3 days in June when the conditions are right. He looks at the faces of his commanders. They are waiting for him to decide. He decides. June 5th, prepare to launch. The message goes out. Across southern England, the machine shifts into its final gear. Troops board the ships. Planes line up on the runways. Paratroopers check their chutes. The world holds its breath. And in the German command, Rommel drives home to Germany. His wife's birthday is June 6th. He wants to surprise her. He has been at the front for months. He deserves a day away. The weather is bad. No one invades in bad weather. He drives through the French countryside, past the beaches, past the bunkers, past the men who will face the invasion without him. He does not know what is coming. None of them know. The soldiers on both sides sleep through the last night of their old lives. In the morning, everything changes. January, 1944. London is gray, cold, wet. The kind of cold that seeps through wool coats and into bones. General Dwight Eisenhower arrives at his new headquarters in Norfolk House, a modest building in St. James's Square that looks like any other office block. It is not modest inside. The basement holds the most secret room in England. Maps cover every wall. Planners work in shifts, 24 hours a day. The air smells of coffee, cigarettes, and sweat. Eisenhower stands in the doorway of the main map room. He is 53 years old. His hair is thinning. His smile is famous, the smile that will appear on 1,000,000 campaign posters and magazine covers. But right now there is no smile. He looks at the maps and sees what they represent. Not lines and symbols, not divisions and corps. He sees the faces of the boys he visited yesterday in a camp in Devon. He sees their mothers. He sees the telegrams that will arrive in farmhouses and city apartments and small-town kitchens across America. He walks to his office. It is small. A desk, a telephone, a cot in the corner where he will sleep most nights. He sits down and opens the first of hundreds of folders. The weight of command settles on his shoulders, like a physical thing. He is responsible for more than soldiers. He is responsible for the alliance itself. The British distrust the Americans. The Americans think the British are exhausted. The Canadians feel ignored. The Poles, the French, the Norwegians, the Dutch, all have their own agendas, their own grievances, their own demands. Eisenhower must hold them together. If the alliance fractures, the invasion fractures. If the invasion fractures, the war continues for years. The first crisis comes within a week. General Bernard Montgomery arrives at Norfolk House with his own ideas about the plan. Monty is small, sharp, utterly convinced of his own genius. He has just returned from the Mediterranean, where he chased Rommel across North Africa and led the invasion of Sicily. He is Britain's greatest general, and he knows it. He walks into Eisenhower's office without knocking, throws a map on the desk, and announces that the existing plan is worthless. Eisenhower listens. This is his gift. He listens when other commanders would argue. Montgomery explains that the landing front is too narrow. The first wave needs more beaches, more divisions, more weight. The Germans will counterattack within hours. If the beachhead is too small, they will crush it. Eisenhower nods. He asks questions. He thanks Montgomery for his input. After Montgomery leaves, Eisenhower calls his staff together and tells them that Monty is right. The plan must change. The invasion front expands from 3 beaches to 5. More landing craft, more troops, more everything. The logistics officers turn pale. The supply sergeants whisper prayers. But Eisenhower has decided. The plan changes. February arrives with storms that ground aircraft and swamp landing craft exercises. Eisenhower visits every unit he can reach. He stands in the mud and the rain and talks to soldiers who have never seen combat. He asks where they are from, what they did before the war, whether they have written home recently. The soldiers do not know what to make of him. He is a general, but he talks like a father. He shakes their hands. He remembers their names. When he leaves, they feel different. They feel seen. One evening in mid-February, Eisenhower receives a visitor. It is George Marshall, his mentor, the man who chose him for this command. Marshall does not waste time with pleasantries. He asks one question: "Do you believe this will work?" Eisenhower does not answer immediately. He walks to the window and looks out at the blacked-out city. He thinks about the beaches, the bunkers, the machine guns, the boys from Iowa and Texas and Brooklyn. He turns back to Marshall and says yes. He says it because he must believe it. If the Supreme Commander does not believe, no one believes. Marshall nods. He reaches into his briefcase and pulls out a folded piece of paper. It is a letter from Roosevelt. The president writes that he has complete confidence in Eisenhower. He writes that whatever happens, the country will stand behind him. Eisenhower reads the letter and understands what it really says. It says that if the invasion fails, Roosevelt will survive politically because he backed his general. It says that Eisenhower will carry the blame alone. That is the deal. That is command. After Marshall leaves, Eisenhower sits alone in his office. He thinks about the letter in his wallet, the one he wrote himself, the one that takes responsibility for failure. He wonders if he will have to use it. He wonders if the boys in the camps will have to die for nothing because the weather turned bad, or the intelligence was wrong, or the Germans were just too strong. He pushes the thought away. There is no room for doubt. Doubt is a luxury for men who do not command. March. The bombing campaign intensifies. Thousands of aircraft hit rail yards, bridges, fuel depots across France. The French resistance reports that civilian casualties are mounting. Trains carrying schoolchildren have been hit. Houses near the targets have been destroyed. Eisenhower reads the reports and feels the weight grow heavier. He knows the bombing is necessary. He knows that if the Germans can move their reserves quickly, the beaches will become slaughterhouses. But he also knows that French families are dying to save his soldiers. He writes a letter to the French people to be distributed after the invasion. It apologizes. It explains. It asks for anxious. The date is fixed. The moon and anxious. The date is fixed. The moon and tides wait for no man. If the troops are not ready, they go anyway. Eisenhower pushes harder. He demands more from everyone, including himself. He sleeps 3 hours a night. His blood pressure rises. His doctor warns him to slow down. Eisenhower thanks the doctor and works 4 more hours. April. The final plans are distributed. The security risk is enormous. If a single copy falls into German hands, the whole operation could be compromised. Eisenhower insists on strict controls. Only officers with absolute need know the full picture. The rest know only their piece. It is a system built on trust and fear. Trust that the men will do their duty. Fear that one of them might talk in a pub or a letter home. Eisenhower visits the airborne divisions in their camps. These are the men who will drop behind enemy lines in the dark, hours before the beach landings. They will be outnumbered, outgunned, scattered across the French countryside. Their job is to seize bridges, destroy gun batteries, create chaos. Their casualty estimates are horrific. Eisenhower walks among them and shakes every hand he can reach. He looks into their eyes and sees boys who should be in college, working on farms, courting girls. He sees men who will be dead in 6 weeks. One paratrooper, a kid from Chicago with red hair and freckles, asks Eisenhower if he thinks the invasion will succeed. The question hangs in the air. Other soldiers turn to listen. Eisenhower looks at the kid and says that he knows it will succeed because men like them are doing it. He says it with complete conviction. The kid smiles. The other soldiers smile. They do not know that Eisenhower goes back to his office that night and stares at the wall for an hour without moving. May, the final month. Troops are sealed in their camps, no mail out, no visitors in. The soldiers write letters that will be held until after the invasion. They play cards, clean weapons, stare at the sky. Chaplains hold services in every language. The night before the Catholic service, a young priest comes to Eisenhower's office. He asks if the general would like to confess. Eisenhower looks at him and says that if God is listening, he already knows everything. The priest leaves. Eisenhower sits alone and thinks about his mother, a religious woman who prayed for him every night. He wonders if she is praying now. On May 15th, the final briefing is held at St. Paul's School in London. Every senior commander attends. Montgomery speaks. The naval commanders speak. The air commanders speak. Eisenhower speaks last. He stands at the podium and looks at the men who will lead the invasion. He tells them that this is the greatest undertaking in human history. He tells them that the eyes of the world are on them. He tells them that the fate of millions depends on their success. Then he stops talking and walks out. The room is silent. No one moves for a long moment. Then they gather their papers and go back to work. The third week of May. Eisenhower receives a visit from his driver, Kay Summersby. She has been with him since North Africa. They have a relationship that no one discusses and everyone knows about. She brings him coffee and sits in the chair across from his desk. She asks if he is all right. He says he is fine. She says that is a lie. He does not argue. They sit in silence for a while. Then she leaves. Eisenhower watches her go and thinks about his wife Mamie back in Washington. He thinks about the letters they write, full of love and distance and things unsaid. He thinks about how war destroys everything, even the people who survive it. The last week of May. The weather forecast is bad. Eisenhower meets with his meteorological team twice a day. They show him charts, pressure systems, wind speeds. The news is never good. Low pressure over the Atlantic. Storms in the Channel, clouds over the beaches. Eisenhower listens, asks questions, thanks them for their work. After they leave, he sits with his hands on the desk and stares at nothing. May 31st. The decision must be made. Eisenhower gathers his commanders. Montgomery wants to go. The naval commanders are nervous about the weather. The air commanders say the clouds will blind their bombers. Eisenhower listens to everyone. Then he says that the invasion will launch on June 5th, weather permitting. He says that if the weather does not permit, they will wait for the next window. He says that this is his decision and his responsibility. The meeting ends. The commanders leave. Eisenhower sits alone in the room and thinks about the boys in the ships, waiting in the harbor, not knowing that their lives depend on a weather system forming somewhere over the Atlantic. June 1st. The troops begin boarding the ships. It is a logistical miracle. Thousands of vessels, hundreds of thousands of men, millions of tons of supplies, all moving according to a schedule, timed to the minute. If one ship is late, the whole operation is thrown off. If one unit loads onto the wrong vessel, they land on the wrong beach. The officers check and double-check. The men wait and smoke and write letters they cannot send. June 2nd. The weather worsens. Eisenhower meets with his meteorologists again. They tell him that the low-pressure system is stronger than expected. June 5th looks impossible. Eisenhower says nothing. He thanks them and dismisses them. After they leave, he sits with his head in his hands. His shoulders shake. No one sees this. No one ever sees this. June 3rd. The commanders meet again. The meteorologists present their latest data. There is a chance, they say, a small chance, that a weather window might open on June 6th. The storm might ease for a few hours. The seas might calm enough for the landing craft. It is not certain. It is a gamble. Eisenhower asks each commander for their opinion. Montgomery says, "Go." The Navy says the risk is high. The Air Force says they cannot guarantee support. Eisenhower listens. Then he says that they will wait for the next forecast. The meeting ends. No decision. That night, Eisenhower cannot sleep. He lies on his cot and stares at the ceiling. He thinks about the soldiers on the ships, packed into cramped holds, seasick, scared, waiting. He thinks about the paratroopers who will board their planes tomorrow if he gives the order. He thinks about the Germans waiting behind their concrete walls. He thinks about the mothers, the fathers, the wives, the children. He thinks about the letter in his wallet. He thinks about failure. June 4th. The commanders meet at 4:30 in the morning. The meteorologists give their report. The storm is raging. June 5th is impossible. Eisenhower postpones the invasion for 24 hours. The order goes out. Ships at sea must turn back. It is a miracle of communication and coordination. The fleet turns. The soldiers wonder what is happening. The Germans, watching the storm, relax. No one invades in this weather. Rommel drives to Germany for his wife's birthday. That evening, Eisenhower meets with his meteorologists again. They show him new data. The storm might ease on June 6th. The window might open. It is narrow, dangerous, uncertain. Eisenhower asks if they are sure. They are not sure. No one is sure. He thanks them and tells them he will decide in the morning. June 5th, 4 a.m. The commanders gather in the library at Eisenhower's headquarters. The meteorologists give their final briefing. The weather on June 6th will be bad, but possible. The wind will drop. The clouds will lift slightly. The seas will be rough, but survivable. After June 6th, the window closes for weeks. Eisenhower looks around the room. He sees the faces of men who have trusted him with their careers, their soldiers, their lives. He asks for opinions. Some say go, some say wait. All say the decision is his. Eisenhower stands. He walks to the window. He looks out at the gray morning, the rain, the wind. He thinks about the ships waiting in the harbors, the planes on the runways, the boys from Iowa and Texas and Brooklyn. He thinks about the beaches, the bunkers, the machine guns. He thinks about the letter in his wallet. He turns back to the room. He says, "Okay, let's go." The words are simple. The words change everything. The room erupts into motion. Officers run to telephones. Orders flash across England. The invasion is on. June 6th, 1944. D-Day. After everyone leaves, Eisenhower sits alone in the library. He writes a short note on a piece of paper. It says that the invasion has been launched, that the responsibility is his, that if anyone is to blame, it is him. He folds the note and puts it in his wallet next to the other one, the one for failure. He carries both now. Success and failure folded together, pressing against his heart. He walks outside. The rain has stopped. The wind has dropped. The sky shows a hint of light in the east. He lights a cigarette and stands alone in the morning, thinking about the boys who are already in the air, already on the sea, already moving toward the guns. He thinks about the paratroopers who jumped into the dark over Normandy, scattered, lost, alone, but fighting. He thinks about the soldiers on the landing craft, vomiting from seasickness, praying to gods they had not spoken to since childhood. He thinks about the Germans waiting in their bunkers, unaware that the storm is ending and the invasion is coming. He thinks about the letter in his wallet. Both letters. One for success he will never use, one for failure he prays he will never need. The sun rises over England. Across the Channel, the first bombs begin to fall. The invasion has begun. Eisenhower stands alone and watches the sky and waits for news that will take hours to arrive, news that will tell him whether his decision was genius or madness, whether the boys will live or die, whether the war will end this year or stretch into another bloody eternity. He stands there for a long time, then he walks back inside to begin the longest day of his life. November 1943. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel stands on a cliff overlooking the French coast. The wind tears at his coat. The gray sea stretches to the horizon. Behind him, concrete bunkers rise from the sand, like prehistoric beasts. He has been inspecting the Atlantic Wall for 3 weeks. What he has seen fills him with dread. Rommel is 52 years old. He is the most famous German commander since the death of Frederick the Great. The British fear him. The Americans study him. Hitler trusts him, as much as Hitler trusts anyone. He won his reputation in the desert, fighting the British with fewer men, fewer tanks, less fuel, less everything. He outmaneuvered them again and again because he understood something they did not. In war, speed kills. The side that moves faster wins. The side that reacts first survives. But here, on this coast, there is no speed. There is only concrete and steel and wire. There are bunkers built to withstand naval gunfire. There are minefields stretching for miles. There are obstacles planted in the sand to tear the bottoms out of landing craft. There are guns pointing out to sea, waiting for the day when the invasion comes. Rommel walks down to the beach. The sand is wet. The tide is going out. He sees the obstacles his engineers have planted, sharpened stakes angled toward the sea, metal frames welded together to trap boats, mines attached to every third obstacle. He nods. This is good. This will kill. But it is not enough. He knows this in his bones. He walks back up the cliff and looks inland. Behind the beaches, the ground is flat, open, perfect for paratroopers. Behind that, the roads are narrow, winding, easy to block. Behind that, the panzer divisions wait in reserve, but they are not his. They answer to Hitler. They will not move without his permission. And by the time permission comes, the Allies will be ashore. Rommel returns to his headquarters at La Roche-Guyon, a castle on the Seine west of Paris. The castle is beautiful. Rommel does not notice beauty anymore. He notices only the map on the wall, the reports on his desk, the telephone that never stops ringing. He summons his staff and tells them what he has seen. The wall is a lie. It exists in propaganda films and Hitler's speeches. In reality, it is a collection of half-finished bunkers, understrength divisions, and obstacles that will delay the enemy for hours, not days. His staff is silent. They know he is right. They also know that telling Hitler the truth is dangerous. Rommel does not care about danger. He cares about the men who will die because the Führer lives in a fantasy. December. Rommel drives to Berlin to meet with Hitler. The briefing room is cold. Hitler sits at the center of a long table, surrounded by maps and officers. His hands tremble. His eyes dart around the room. He has been taking too many drugs, his doctors whisper. Rommel does not whisper. He stands and delivers his report. The Atlantic Wall is not ready. The divisions in the West are under strength, poorly equipped, badly trained. The Allies will invade in the spring. When they do, they must be stopped on the beaches. If they get ashore, if they establish a beachhead, Germany loses the war. Silence fills the room. Hitler stares at Rommel. The other generals hold their breath. Then Hitler speaks. He says that the Atlantic Wall is impregnable. He says that German soldiers will fight to the last man. He says that secret weapons are coming that will turn the tide. He thanks Rommel for his report and dismisses him. Rommel walks out of the room knowing that he has failed. Hitler does not want the truth. Hitler wants reassurance. Rommel cannot give him that. He drives back to France with the weight of the war pressing down on his chest. January, 1944. Rommel inspects the beaches again. This time he brings his son Manfred, a 15-year-old boy who wants to see what his father does. They walk along the coast at Pas-de-Calais. The bunkers here are stronger, the obstacles thicker, the troops better. Rommel explains to Manfred that this is where the Allies will probably land. The channel is narrowest here. The distance to Germany is shortest here. The ports are largest here. Every piece of logic points to Pas-de-Calais. But Rommel is not certain. He has studied the Allies. He knows Eisenhower, a cautious man who takes calculated risks. He knows Montgomery, an egomaniac who believes he is invincible. He knows the Americans, who have endless supplies and endless men and endless confidence. He tries to think like them. If he were Eisenhower, where would he land? He stares at the map for hours. He walks the beaches for days. He reads every intelligence report, every agent message, every reconnaissance photograph. The photographs show something strange. The Allies are bombing Pas-de-Calais heavily. Railways, bridges, airfields, all hit again and again. But they are also bombing Normandy. Not as heavily, but consistently. Rommel's intelligence officers tell him that the bombing in Normandy is just a feint. The real invasion will come at Pas-de-Calais. Rommel is not so sure. February. Rommel meets with Gerd von Rundstedt, the overall commander in the West. Rundstedt is old, aristocratic, weary. He has been fighting wars since before Rommel was born. He believes in traditional military doctrine. Hold the reserves deep, then counterattack when the enemy commits. Rommel believes the opposite. Put everything on the beaches. Stop them in the water. If they get ashore, it is too late. They argue for hours. Rundstedt points to history. Rommel points to the desert. In the desert, Rommel won because he attacked before the enemy was ready. He wants to do the same thing here, attack the beaches before the Allies can build their beachhead. Rundstedt shakes his head. The divisions are not strong enough. The Air Force is not strong enough. If they put everything on the beaches, the naval bombardment will destroy them before the infantry even lands. Rommel leaves the meeting frustrated. He respects Rundstedt, but he does not agree. He goes back to his headquarters and writes new orders. More obstacles, more mines, more stakes, more concrete. He will build the wall himself if he must. March. The work accelerates. Rommel drives his engineers mercilessly. He visits every sector, every battalion, every construction site. He stands in the rain and watches men plant obstacles in the sand. He climbs into bunkers and checks the fields of fire. He talks to soldiers and asks about their equipment, their training, their morale. The soldiers are surprised. Generals do not talk to privates. Rommel talks to everyone. One evening, he visits a battery near Cherbourg. The guns are old, captured from the French in 1940. The crews are young, barely trained. Rommel asks the commander what he will do when the invasion comes. The commander says he will fire until the guns overheat. Rommel nods. Then he walks down to the beach alone. He stands in the dark and listens to the waves. He thinks about the boys in the bunkers, the boys who will face the greatest navy in history, with guns that should be in a museum. He thinks about his own son, who will be old enough to fight soon. He thinks about Germany, his country, his home, his curse. April. The intelligence reports grow more urgent. The Allies are massing in southern England. Thousands of ships, thousands of planes, hundreds of thousands of men. The invasion is coming. Soon. Rommel knows that the next weeks will decide everything. He drives to the coast every day. He pushes the engineers harder. He demands more obstacles, more mines, more concrete. The Todt organization, the construction group building the wall, complains that they cannot work faster. Rommel tells them to work faster anyway. He also begins to move his divisions. He wants the panzers close to the coast, ready to attack the beaches within hours. Rundstedt objects. Hitler objects. The panzer divisions stay where they are, waiting for orders that will come too late. Rommel argues, pleads, threatens. Nothing changes. The Führer has spoken. May. The weather turns warm. The French countryside blooms with spring flowers. Rommel barely notices. He spends every day on the coast inspecting, pushing, preparing. He knows that the invasion could come any day now. He knows that when it comes, he will be ready or he will not, and the difference between readiness and failure is measured in the lives of boys. On May 15th, Rommel receives a message from his wife, Lucy. It is her birthday soon. She wants him to come home, just for a day, just to celebrate. Rommel looks at the message and thinks about the invasion. The weather has been bad. The channel is rough. No one invades in bad weather. He tells his staff that he will drive to Germany on June 5th. He will return on June 6th. One day. What could happen in one day? The last week of May. Rommel inspects the beaches at Normandy one final time. He stands on the bluff overlooking Omaha Beach. Below him, the obstacles stretch across the sand like teeth. His engineers have done good work, but he looks inland and sees the roads, the hills, the open fields. He knows that if the Allies get past the beaches, the fighting will be brutal. The hedgerows will become killing grounds. The villages will become fortresses. The German army will fight for every inch because there is nowhere left to retreat. He thinks about the war. He thinks about Africa, about the days when he was invincible, when the name Rommel struck fear into the hearts of his enemies. Those days are gone. Now he is just a man standing on a cliff, waiting for an army to arrive. June 4th, Rommel drives to Germany. The weather is terrible. Storms lash the channel. The invasion cannot come in this weather. He relaxes slightly as the miles pass. He thinks about Lucy, about the birthday celebration, about the few hours of peace before the storm. He does not know that in England, Eisenhower is meeting with his meteorologists. He does not know that the weather forecast has changed. He does not know that the ships are already moving. June 5th. Rommel arrives at his home in Herrlingen. Lucy is waiting. There are flowers, cake, presents. He smiles for the first time in months. They sit together and talk about Manfred, about the garden, about anything except the war. For a few hours, Rommel is not a field marshal. He is just a husband, a father, a man. That night, he sleeps in his own bed. The sheets are soft. The windows are open. The air smells of summer. He drifts into sleep, thinking about nothing. In France, the guns are about to open fire. June 6, 1944. 4 a.m. The telephone rings in Rommel's house. He answers it half asleep. The voice on the other end is his chief of staff, Hans Speidel. The words come fast, fragmented, hard to understand. Paratroopers, landings, everywhere, the invasion. Rommel stands in the dark, holding the telephone, listening to the end of the world. He thinks about the beaches, the obstacles, the bunkers, the boys. He thinks about his arguments with Hitler, his fights with Rundstedt, his desperate push to build the wall. He thinks about the panzer divisions that are still in reserve, waiting for orders that will come too late. He hangs up the telephone. He looks at Lucy, still asleep in the bed. He dresses quickly, silently. He walks out of the house and gets into his car. The driver starts the engine. They race toward France, toward the coast, toward the beaches where the boys are dying. Rommel stares out the window as the German countryside flashes past. Farms, villages, churches. People sleeping peacefully, unaware that history is turning. He thinks about the boys on the beaches. He thinks about the machine guns, the artillery, the naval guns. He thinks about the thousands of landing craft approaching the shore. He thinks about the paratroopers already fighting in the dark. He knows that he will arrive too late. The first hours are the critical hours. The first hours decide everything. And he is here, in a car, watching the sun rise over a country that is about to be invaded from both sides. The car speeds west. Rommel says nothing. There is nothing to say. The war is lost. He knows it now. Not today. Not tomorrow. But eventually. The math is simple. The Allies have everything. Germany has nothing but courage and concrete, and the memory of victories that will never come again. He thinks about Hitler, still sleeping in his bunker, still dreaming of secret weapons and miracle weapons and weapons that do not exist. He thinks about the generals who told him the wall was strong enough. He thinks about his own certainty that Pas de Calais was the target. He thinks about the beaches at Normandy, the ones he inspected but did not reinforce enough, the ones where the boys are dying right now. The car races on. Rommel closes his eyes. He sees the desert. He sees the faces of his soldiers, the ones who died in Africa, the ones who will die here. He sees the beaches. He sees the blood. He opens his eyes. The road stretches ahead. France waits at the end of it. The invasion waits. The future waits. And Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, the greatest German commander of the war, sits in the back of a car and watches the miles pass and knows that he is racing toward defeat. January 1944. A quiet office in London. Behind the door, a man sits alone studying maps of a place that does not exist. His name is Dudley Clark. He is a British colonel who wears civilian clothes and carries no identification. If he is captured, the British government will deny knowing him. He is the father of deception, the man who invented modern military trickery. In North Africa, he made wooden tanks that fooled Rommel's reconnaissance planes. He created phantom armies that marched across the desert while real armies attacked from somewhere else. He is a liar, and he is very good at it. Clark looks at the maps on his wall. They show the coast of France, the channel ports, the roads, the railways. He knows every inch of this ground even though he has never been there. He knows where the Germans are strong and where they are weak. He knows what they expect and what they fear. He knows that the invasion will succeed or fail, based on one question: where will the Germans believe the attack is coming? The answer must be Pas-de-Calais, the narrowest part of the Channel, the shortest distance from England, the straight line to the German heartland. Every German general believes the invasion will come there, because that is where they would attack. Clark's job is to make them believe it so strongly that they keep their best divisions there, while the real invasion hits Normandy. He picks up a pen and begins to write. The plan will be called Operation Fortitude. It will be the greatest deception in military history. It will involve fake armies, fake radio traffic, fake intelligence agents, fake equipment, fake everything. It will cost millions of pounds and thousands of hours of work. And if it works, it will save tens of thousands of lives. February. The first pieces fall into place. The Allies create an entire army group that exists only on paper. It is called the First United States Army Group, FUSAG for short. Its headquarters are in southeast England, directly across from Pas-de-Calais. It has a commanding general, George Patton, the most aggressive, most famous, most feared American commander. Patton is real. His army is not. Patton arrives in England in disgrace. He slapped 2 soldiers in hospitals in Sicily, accused them of cowardice, and the story made headlines. Eisenhower needs him out of the way, but too valuable to send home. So he gives Patton command of the fake army. Patton hates it. He wants to fight, not pretend. But he does what he is told because he knows that pretending is fighting. The Germans watch Patton. If Patton is in southeast England, the invasion must come from southeast England. That is the logic. That is the trap. March. The construction begins. Engineers build fake camps, fake airfields, fake fuel depots. They build wooden airplanes that look real from the air. They build inflatable tanks that can be moved and positioned and moved again. They build fake landing craft and park them in fake harbors. They build fake hospitals and fake supply dumps and fake everything an army needs. From the ground, it looks like nothing. From the air, it looks like an invasion force. The Germans fly reconnaissance missions every day. Their pilots take photographs, develop them, study them. They see the camps, the airfields, the equipment. They see Patton's headquarters. They report that a huge army is gathering in southeast England. The reports go to Hitler. Hitler reads them and nods. He knew it. Pas-de-Calais. He was right all along. April. The radio war begins. Every army generates radio traffic. Orders, reports, supply requests, personnel messages. The Germans listen to everything. They have listening stations along the coast, operators who sit for hours with headphones on, recording every signal. The Allies know this. So they create a fake radio network for FUSAG. Real operators send real messages about real units that do not exist. They talk about supply problems, training schedules, equipment shortages. They make mistakes because real armies make mistakes. They repeat themselves because real armies repeat themselves. They create a world of sound that the Germans hear and believe. In London, a small team of double agents works on the other half of the deception. These are real Germans who work for the Allies. They were captured, turned, trained. Now they send reports to their German handlers, reports full of useful information that is completely false. One agent, codenamed Garbo, is so good that the Germans consider him their best source in England. They give him money, praise, promotions. He sends them lies, and they believe every word. Garbeau reports that the invasion is coming at Pas-de-Calais. He reports that the Normandy bombing is a diversion. He reports that Patton is waiting with his army to deliver the killing blow. The Germans pass these reports up the chain. They reach Rommel, they reach Rundstedt, they reach Hitler. They are believed. May. The deception deepens. The Allies begin dropping paratroopers behind German lines. Not real paratroopers, but dummies with firecrackers attached. They land in the dark, the firecrackers explode, and the Germans think they are under attack. They send troops to investigate. They commit reserves to chasing ghosts. They exhaust themselves chasing nothing. On the night of May 15th, a German patrol near Le Havre finds one of the dummies. It is a rubber man with a cloth uniform and a bag of explosives. The German soldiers laugh at first, then they stop laughing. If the Allies are dropping dummies here, they are not dropping them at Pas-de-Calais. What does that mean? They report it up the chain. The report disappears into the bureaucracy. No one connects the dots. June 1st. The final phase of fortitude begins. The Allies increase the fake radio traffic. They move the inflatable tanks to new positions. They send Garbeau with his most important message yet. He reports that the invasion is imminent. He reports that it will come at Pas-de-Calais. He reports that Normandy is still a feint. The Germans believe him. June 5th. The real invasion force sails for Normandy. Thousands of ships, hundreds of thousands of men, heading for beaches that the Germans think are safe. In southeast England, the fake army goes quiet. The inflatable tanks deflate. The wooden airplanes are packed away. The radio operators send their last messages. The show is over. But the deception continues. On June 6th, as the real landings begin, Garbeau sends another message. He reports that the Normandy landings are a diversion. The real attack is still coming at Pas-de-Calais. He urges the Germans to hold their reserves. Do not move the panzers to Normandy. Keep them where they can stop the real invasion. In Berlin, Hitler reads the message. He looks at his maps. He looks at the reports from Normandy. He makes his decision. The panzers will not move. The reserves will stay at Pas-de-Calais. The real invasion is still coming. He is wrong. The real invasion is dying on Omaha Beach. The real invasion is fighting through the hedgerows. The real invasion is establishing the beachhead that will end the war. And Hitler waits for an army that does not exist. June 7th. The Germans finally realize the truth. The Normandy landings are not a diversion. They are the real thing. But it is too late. The panzers have not moved. The reserves are still in place. The Allies are ashore, and they are not leaving. In London, Dudley Clark reads the reports from Normandy. He lights a cigarette and leans back in his chair. His deception worked. The Germans believed the lie. They kept their best divisions in the wrong place. They lost the battle before it began. He thinks about the boys on the beaches, the ones who lived because the panzers were not there, the ones who died anyway because war is war and nothing changes that. He thinks about the work, the months of planning, the thousands of people who built something out of nothing. He thinks about Garbeau, still sending messages, still playing his role, still saving lives with lies. Clark stands and walks to the window. Outside, London goes about its business. People shop, work, talk, live. They do not know about the Phantom Army. They do not know about the inflatable tanks and the fake radio traffic and the double agents. They do not know that the invasion succeeded because of a lie. He smiles slightly. Then he turns back to his desk. There is another deception to plan. The war is not over. The lies must continue. In France, Rommel drives toward the front. He knows now that he was tricked. He knows that the panzers should have been at Normandy. He knows that the boys dying on the beaches are dying because of a lie. He hates the liars. He admires them too. It is the admiration of one professional for another. They beat him. They beat him with paper and radio waves and rubber tanks. They beat him without firing a shot. He arrives at his headquarters. The reports are everywhere. The Allies are ashore. The beachhead is holding. The panzers are still hours away. He picks up a telephone and begins to give orders. It does not matter. The battle is lost. He fights it anyway, because that is what soldiers do. June 8th. Garbo sends his final message of the deception campaign. He reports that he has learned the truth. The Normandy landings were the real invasion. He apologizes for his mistake. He begs for another chance. The Germans forgive him. They still trust him. He will send more messages for the rest of the war. They will believe everyone. In the English Channel, the supply ships unload on the beaches. Tanks, trucks, ammunition, food, medicine, everything an army needs. The beachhead grows. The divisions push inland. The hedgerows swallow them, but they keep moving. The Germans fight hard, but they cannot win. Not now. Not after the lie. Patton finally gets his real command. He leads his army across France, racing toward Germany, making headlines, being Patton. He does not talk about the weeks he spent commanding a phantom army. He does not talk about the deception. He talks about glory and victory and the genius of American arms. The deception is forgotten. But the men on the beaches remember. The ones who survived Omaha remember that the machine guns were fewer than they should have been. The ones who landed at Utah remember that the counterattack never came. The ones who jumped into the dark remember that the searchlights were pointed the wrong way. They do not know why. They do not need to know. They just know that they lived. Dudley Clark knows. He carries the secret with him for the rest of his life. He never writes a memoir. He never gives an interview. He never tells his children what he did. The deception dies with him. But on June 6, 1944, as the sun rises over Normandy and the boys climb down the nets into the landing craft, the deception is alive. It is working. It is saving lives. And no one on those boats knows that the greatest weapon in the invasion is not a gun or a bomb or a tank. It is a lie. May 1944. Southern England. The camps are full. Every field, every village, every patch of ground holds soldiers. They come from everywhere. Farms in Iowa, factories in Manchester, fishing villages in Nova Scotia, mining towns in Wales. They are 18, 19, 20 years old. They have never seen combat. They have never killed anyone. They have never been shot at. They are about to learn. In a camp near Exeter, the paratroopers of the 101st Airborne Division spend their last days writing letters. They sit on their bunks with paper and pencils, trying to find words for things that have no words. Dear Mom, don't worry. Dear Dad, I'll be home soon. Dear sweetheart, wait for me. They know the letters are lies. The mail censors know the letters are lies. Everyone knows. But the letters get written anyway, because what else can you do when you are 18 and tomorrow you might die? The paratroopers, have the worst job. They will jump into the dark, hours before the beach landings. They will land behind enemy lines, alone, scattered, lost. They will fight with what they carry. If they are wounded, there is no medic for hours. If they are captured, the Germans have orders to kill them on sight. Their casualty estimates are 80%. 80%. 4 out of 5 will not come back. They know this. They have done the math. A boy from Tennessee sits on his bunk cleaning his rifle. He has been in England for 6 months. He has never seen France. He has never seen a German. He has seen photographs of the beaches, the bunkers, the obstacles. He has heard the stories from the instructors, men who fought in Africa and Italy. He knows what is coming. He cleans his rifle because cleaning his rifle is something to do. It keeps his hands busy while his mind screams. In a port on the south coast, the landing craft wait. They are ugly things, flat-bottomed, slow, vulnerable. They are made of steel so thin that a machine gun bullet can punch through. They carry 30 men each, 30 men packed together, vomiting from seasickness, praying to gods they have not spoken to since childhood. The ramp drops, and they run into the fire. That is the design. That is the plan. The sailors who crew the landing craft are not heroes. They are boys too, 18 and 19, driving these floating coffins toward the beaches. They will make the run again and again, picking up wounded, dropping off reinforcements, hauling away the dead. The Germans will shoot at them every time. Many will die. They know this too. May 15th, the engineers brief the troops on the obstacles. The Germans have planted thousands of them in the sand, wooden stakes angled toward the sea, metal frames welded together, concrete pyramids, mines attached to every third obstacle. The landing craft will hit them at high tide. The men will have to wade through them at low tide. The engineers demonstrate how to blow them up, how to climb over them, how to survive them. The soldiers watch and try to remember. They will remember nothing when the shooting starts. The tank crews have their own nightmare. Some of their tanks are designed to swim. They have canvas screens that rise up around the hull, making them look like boats. Propellers lower into the water. They drive off the landing craft and swim to shore. It sounds like a miracle. It is not a miracle. The canvas tears. The propellers fail. The tanks sink. Men drown inside steel boxes because they cannot get out fast enough. The crews know this. They train anyway. May 20th. The naval bombardment ships arrive. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, hundreds of guns that will fire for hours before the landing. The shells are enormous, 500 pounds, 1,000 pounds, 2,000 pounds. They will hit the bunkers, the gun emplacements, the positions. They will turn concrete into dust and men into nothing. The sailors load the guns and wait. They have never fired at a real target. They have never seen what naval shells do to human beings. They will learn. In a field in Dorset, the medics practice. They set up aid stations with canvas tents and surgical equipment. They practice treating wounds, amputating limbs, giving blood. They practice triage, deciding who lives and who dies based on who has the best chance. They practice because on the beaches, there will be no time to think. The wounded will come by the hundreds. The medics will work until they drop. Many will die trying to save others. May 25th. The chaplains hold services. Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, whatever the soldiers believe. The chaplains are scared too. They have no weapons. They carry only Bibles and prayer books, and the hope that God is listening. They give communion. hear confessions, offer blessings. The soldiers line up for hours. Some have not been to church since they were children. They go now because when death is close, men reach for something beyond themselves. A young chaplain from Chicago stands in the rain giving absolution to hundreds of paratroopers. He makes the sign of the cross over and over until his arm aches. He whispers the same words again and again. He looks into their faces and sees boys who should be in school, working on farms, falling in love. He sees men who will be dead in a week. He keeps going because stopping means thinking, and thinking means breaking. May 28th. The final equipment issues. Rifles, machine guns, mortars, ammunition, grenades, rations, water, gas masks, medical kits, shovels, wire cutters, everything a soldier needs to fight and survive. The soldiers check their gear, pack their bags, test their weapons. They write their names on everything because bodies get mixed up and someone has to identify the dead. The paratroopers get extra equipment, leg bags that hold ammunition and explosives, knives for cutting parachute lines, clickers for identifying each other in the dark, maps of France printed on silk so they do not rustle, French money for bribing locals, German money for bribing Germans, escape kits with compasses and saws and needles. They carry 60, 70, 80 pounds of gear. They will jump with all of it. If they land wrong, the weight will break their legs. If they land in water, the weight will drown them. They jump anyway. May 30. The camps are sealed. No one enters. No one leaves. The soldiers wait. They play cards, write letters, clean weapons, stare at the sky. They talk about home, about girls, about what they will do after the war. They do not talk about dying. That is the rule. You do not talk about dying because if you talk about it, it might happen. In one camp, a soldier from Brooklyn teaches his friends a card game. He learned it from his father, who learned it from his father. They play for hours, laughing, arguing, forgetting where they are. Then someone mentions that tomorrow is June 1st. The laughter stops. They look at each other. They go back to the game. No one says anything. June 1st. The troops begin boarding the ships. It happens at night, in the dark, so German reconnaissance planes cannot see. The soldiers march to the ports in columns, thousands of men moving through the blacked-out countryside. They carry their packs, their weapons, their fear. They board the ships in silence. No music, no speeches. Just the sound of boots on gangplanks and water against hulls. The ships are crowded. Men sleep in hammocks, on decks, in passageways. The air smells of diesel and sweat and vomit. The sea is rough. Many get sick. They vomit into bags, into buckets, over the side. The veterans say that being sick is good luck. The new guys do not believe them. June 2nd. The weather turns bad. Wind, rain, high seas. The ships rock and pitch. The soldiers huddle below decks, trying to sleep, trying not to think. Rumors spread. The invasion is postponed. The invasion is canceled. The Germans are waiting. No one knows anything. The rumors are all they have. June 3rd. The word comes down. The invasion is postponed. The ships turn back. Some soldiers cheer. Most are silent. They know that postponement is not cancellation. They will go again. They will always go again. June 4th. The ships wait in harbor. The rain falls. The wind blows. The soldiers wait. In one ship, a soldier from Texas reads his Bible. He has read it cover to cover 3 times since boarding. He reads it again now because reading is better than thinking. Beside him, a soldier from Ohio writes a letter to his mother. He tells her he loves her. He tells her not to worry. He tells her he will be home soon. He folds the letter and puts it in his pocket. He will mail it after, if he is still alive. June 5th. The order comes. The invasion is on. The ships move out of harbor, forming lines, heading south. The soldiers feel the engines change, feel the movement, feel the reality. This is it. No more training. No more waiting. This is war. On one ship, a paratrooper stands at the rail watching the coast of England disappear into the mist. He thinks about his family, his farm, his dog. He thinks about the girl he left behind, the one who promised to wait. He thinks about the dark, the jump, the ground, the enemy. He thinks about dying. He pushes the thought away. There is no room for that now. In the engine room of a landing craft, a young sailor checks his gauges. He is 17. He lied about his age to enlist. His mother does not know where he is. She thinks he is still in training. He will land on Omaha Beach in a few hours. He will make run after run, picking up wounded, dropping off reinforcements. He will see things that will never leave him. He does not know this yet. He just checks his gauges and tries not to think. In the air, the paratroopers board their planes. Hundreds of C-47s lined up on runways across southern England. The engines start, one by one, building to a roar. The planes take off, climbing into the dark, heading for France. The paratroopers sit in the cramped fuselages, feeling the vibration, feeling the fear. They check their equipment one last time. They say their prayers. They wait. In one plane, a soldier from Pennsylvania looks out the window at the sea below. He sees the invasion fleet, thousands of ships, stretching to the horizon. He has never seen anything like it. He will never see anything like it again. He thinks about history, about the future, about the stories they will tell. He thinks about whether he will be alive to tell them. The planes fly on. The coast of France appears in the distance, dark, silent, waiting. The paratroopers stand, hook up their static lines, check the man in front of them. The red light comes on. Get ready. The green light comes on. Go. They jump into the dark. Hundreds of men dropping through the night, spreading across the French countryside. Some land in trees. Some land in water. Some land in fields. Some land on rooftops. Some land on German positions and die before they hit the ground. The survivors gather in the dark, clicking their clickers, trying to find each other, trying to find their units, trying to find the enemy. Behind them, the fleet approaches the beaches. The soldiers on the ships hear the guns start, the naval bombardment, the planes overhead. They know the paratroopers are already fighting. They know their turn is coming. They wait in the dark, feeling the engines, feeling the fear, feeling the weight of history pressing down on them. June 6th, 1944. 5 a.m. The first light appears in the east. The French coast becomes visible. The soldiers see the cliffs, the beaches, the bunkers. They see the obstacles in the sand. They see the enemy waiting. The ramps drop. The men go in. June 5th, 1944. 4 p.m. The ships are moving. Thousands of them, spread across the English Channel, heading south toward France. The soldiers on board feel the engines thrumming through the steel decks. They feel the sea beneath them, the wind above them, the weight of what is coming pressing down on every heart. In the headquarters at Southwick House, Eisenhower sits alone in a small room. The decision is made. The invasion is launched. There is nothing left to do but wait. He stares at the wall and thinks about the boys on the ships. He thinks about the paratroopers already in the air, already crossing the coast, already falling through the dark toward enemy ground. He thinks about the mothers who do not know, the fathers who are sleeping, the wives who will wake to telegrams. He lights a cigarette. His hands are steady. He does not feel steady. He feels like a man standing on a cliff edge in the dark, unable to see the bottom, unable to step back, unable to do anything but wait for the fall. Outside, the wind blows, the rain falls, the weather is still bad, still dangerous, still capable of destroying everything. The meteorologists said the window would open. They were not certain. No one is certain. The ships move anyway. In the channel, the soldiers feel the weather. The landing craft are small, flat-bottomed, built for beaches, not for storms. They pitch and roll in the waves. The men inside are packed together, shoulder to shoulder, knee to knee. The air smells of diesel, sweat, vomit. The seasick retch into buckets, into helmets, onto the deck. The veterans say that being sick is good luck. The new guys do not believe them. A soldier from Kansas sits with his back against the steel wall. He is 20 years old. He has never seen combat. He has never been to Europe. He has never killed anyone. In a few hours, he will land on a beach called Omaha. He will run across sand while machine guns fire at him. He will see men die. He may die himself. He thinks about his farm, his parents, his girl. He thinks about the letter in his pocket, the one he wrote but never mailed. He thinks about whether anyone will read it if he does not come back. In the air, the paratroopers are flying. Hundreds of C-47s, formation after formation, crossing the channel in the dark. The men sit in the cramped fuselages, feeling the vibration, feeling the cold. They check their equipment again and again: rifles, grenades, ammunition, knives, maps, money, escape kits. They check the man next to them, making sure his gear is secure, making sure his parachute is safe. They do not talk much. There is nothing left to say. A paratrooper from Chicago looks out the window. Below, he sees the invasion fleet. Thousands of ships stretching to the horizon. The sight is impossible, unbelievable, something from a dream. He has never seen so many ships. He will never see so many again. He thinks about history, about the future, about whether anyone will remember his name. He pushes the thought away. There is no room for that now. In France, the Germans wait. They do not know what is coming. The weather is bad. The sea is rough. No one invades in weather like this. Many German officers have left their posts. Some are at dinner. Some are in bed. Some are with women. Rommel is in Germany, celebrating his wife's birthday. The Panzer divisions are in reserve, waiting for orders that will not come until morning. But on the coast, the lookouts watch. They stare into the dark, into the rain, into the nothing. They see nothing, they report nothing, they relax. No one invades in weather like this. In a bunker overlooking Omaha Beach, a young German soldier sits at his machine gun. He is 19 years old. He comes from a farm in Bavaria. He did not want to be a soldier. He wanted to be a farmer like his father. But the war took him, put him in uniform, put him in this bunker, put him behind this gun. He stares at the sea and sees nothing. He thinks about home. He thinks about the girl he left behind. He thinks about whether he will ever see either again. In the channel, the minesweepers go first. Little ships, steel hulls, dragging cables through the water. Their job is to clear paths through the German minefields. If they miss a mine, a landing craft hits it. If a landing craft hits it, 30 men die. The minesweeper crews know this. They work anyway. They work in the dark, in the rain, in the waves, knowing that the Germans might spot them, might fire on them, might kill them before they finish. They work anyway. A sailor on a minesweeper watches the coast appear in the distance. He is 22. He has been at sea since he was 16. He has seen storms, battles, death. He has never seen anything like this. Thousands of ships heading for a single stretch of coast, the greatest invasion in history. And he is here, on a little wooden ship, doing his little job, playing his small part. He thinks about his mother, his father, his sister. He thinks about whether he will see them again. He turns back to his work. There is no time for thinking. In the air, the paratroopers approach the coast. The red light comes on. Get ready. The men stand, hook up their static lines, check the man in front of them. They feel the plane change course, change speed, change altitude. They feel the flak start, the German anti-aircraft guns firing from below. The plane rocks, shakes, shudders. The men hold on. The green light comes on. Go. They jump into the dark. Hundreds of men dropping through the night, spreading across the French countryside. The parachutes open with a crack that is lost in the wind. The men hang in the air, suspended between sky and ground, unable to control where they land, unable to do anything but wait for the impact. A paratrooper from Texas lands in a tree. The branches tear at his uniform, his skin, his face. He hangs there, tangled in his parachute, unable to move. He hears Germans below, shouting, shooting. He cuts himself free and drops to the ground. He lands hard, twists his ankle, bites through the pain. He draws his knife and waits. The Germans move past. They do not see him. He crawls into the dark and begins to look for his unit. Another paratrooper lands in a field. Men emerge from the dark, gathering in the dark. The signal. Friend or foe? He clicks his own. A click comes back, then another, then another. Men emerge from the dark, gathering in the field, forming a unit out of chaos. They do not know where they are. They do not know where the enemy is. They know only that they are together, and that is enough. In a farmhouse near Sainte-Mère-Église, a French family hears the planes. They hear the flak, the explosions, the shouts. They know what it means. The invasion. After 4 years of occupation, after 4 years of waiting, after 4 years of hoping, the invasion is here. The father looks at his wife, his children, his home. He does not know if they will survive the night. He does not know if liberation means life or death. He knows only that everything is about to change. In the channel, the soldiers on the ships feel the change. The engines slow. The landing craft lower into the water. The men climb down the nets, heavy with equipment, clumsy with fear. They drop into the boats, find their places, wait. The boats circle, forming lines, waiting for the signal to head for the beach. A soldier from Ohio sits in a landing craft. The boat rocks in the waves. The man next to him is vomiting over the side. The man across from him is praying. The man behind him is crying. No one says anything. There is nothing to say. They all know what is coming. In the headquarters at Southwick House, Eisenhower paces. He cannot sleep. He cannot sit. He cannot stop thinking. The reports come in, fragmentary, confusing. The paratroopers are down. They are scattered. They are fighting. Some are dead. Some are lost. Some are doing exactly what they were supposed to do. The picture is unclear. The picture will be unclear for hours. He thinks about the letter in his wallet, the one for failure, the one he wrote in case everything goes wrong. He touches it through the cloth of his uniform. He hopes he will not need it. He hopes the boys on the beaches will make it through. He hopes the weather holds, the Germans stay confused, the plan works. He hopes. That is all he can do now. Hope. In France, the night deepens. The paratroopers fight in the dark, small battles, confused battles, battles that will determine the fate of the invasion. They seize bridges, destroy guns, cut wires, create chaos. They die in fields, in roads, in villages. They kill Germans who never expected to fight tonight. They do what they were trained to do. They do what they were sent to do. They do what no one else can do. A paratrooper from Pennsylvania lies wounded in a ditch. He took a bullet in the leg, another in the arm. He cannot move. He cannot fight. He lies in the dark, listening to the sounds of battle around him. He thinks about his mother. He thinks about his father. He thinks about the farm where he grew up, the fields he worked, the animals he raised. He thinks about whether he will see any of it again. He drifts in and out of consciousness. He waits for dawn. In the channel, the first light appears. The eastern sky turns gray, then pink, then orange. The coast of France becomes visible, dark against the light. The soldiers in the landing craft see it. The cliffs, the beaches, the bunkers, the enemy. They see the smoke from the naval bombardment, the flashes of the guns, the explosions on the shore. They hear the roar of the battleships, the scream of the shells, the rumble of the planes overhead. They know that in minutes they will be on that beach. They know that in minutes some of them will be dead. A soldier from Brooklyn looks at the man next to him. They trained together. They drank together. They complained together. Now they will go into battle together. The man looks back. Neither speaks. There are no words for this. The landing craft form their lines. The coxswains steer toward the beach. The men crouch low, trying to make themselves small, trying to disappear. The guns open fire from the shore. The bullets hit the water, hit the boats, hit the men. The first screams begin. In the headquarters at Southwick House, Eisenhower waits. The first reports are coming in. Utah Beach. The landings are going well. Omaha Beach. The landings are not going well. The casualties are high. The Germans are strong. The plan is breaking down. Eisenhower reads the reports. His face shows nothing. Inside he feels everything, the boys, the beaches, the guns, the letter in his wallet. He lights another cigarette and waits for more news. In France, the sun rises over the beaches. The longest night is over. The longest day has begun. June 6th, 1944. 6:30 a.m. The ramps drop. The sound is metal against metal, hydraulic hinges releasing, steel slamming into water. For the men inside the landing craft, it is the sound of everything ending and everything beginning. They have trained for this moment for months. They have imagined it for years. Now it is real. Omaha Beach. The name means nothing to them now. It is just a stretch of sand, a curve of coast, a place on a map. In minutes, it will mean something else. It will mean the place where friends died, the place where they almost died, the place that will live in their nightmares forever. The first men out do not run. They fall. The water is deeper than expected. The weight of their equipment pulls them down. 60, 70, 80 pounds of gear dragging them under. Some drown before they take a step. Some struggle to the surface, gasping, choking, spitting seawater. Some never come up at all. The machine guns open fire. From the bunkers above the beach, from the pillboxes on the cliffs, from the trenches in the bluffs. The Germans have been waiting. They have been aiming. They have been practicing for this moment for years. Now they fire. The sound is indescribable. Thousands of rounds per minute, cracking over the water, tearing through the air, hitting flesh. Men fall in the surf. Men fall on the sand. Men fall before they reach the sand, shot in the water, bleeding into the sea. The waves turn red. A soldier from Illinois makes it to the beach. He runs, crouches, falls behind a metal obstacle. The obstacle is supposed to stop tanks. It does nothing against bullets. They ping off the metal, ricochet, whine through the air. He presses himself into the sand, trying to disappear. The man next to him is shot in the head. His body jerks, then lies still. The soldier from Illinois stares at the body. He cannot move. He cannot think. He cannot do anything but lie there and wait to die. Behind him, more landing craft approach. The coxswains steer through the obstacles, through the fire, through the chaos. They drop their ramps, and more men fall into the water. The machine guns keep firing. The bodies keep falling. The water keeps turning red. On Utah Beach, it is different. The current has pushed the landing craft off course. They are landing in the wrong place. But the wrong place turns out to be the right place. The defenses here are weaker. The Germans are fewer. The men make it ashore. They find cover. They organize. They begin to move inland. The generals will call it luck. The soldiers will call it a miracle. The dead on Omaha will call it nothing at all. On Gold Beach, the British land. Their tanks arrive first. Swimming tanks that actually swim, that make it through the waves, that reach the sand and start firing. The Germans are surprised. For cover, moving up the beach, engaging for cover, moving up the beach, engaging the bunkers. The casualties are heavy, but not catastrophic. The beachhead holds. On Juno Beach, the Canadians land. They have the worst timing. The tide is higher than expected. The obstacles are covered. The landing craft hit them, tear open, sink. Men drown before they reach the sand. The ones who make it face machine guns, mortars, artillery. The Canadians fight anyway. They have been waiting for this since 1939, since their country declared war, since they volunteered to cross an ocean and die for a continent most of them had never seen. They fight like men with nothing to lose. They take the beach. On Sword Beach, the British land again. They have the farthest to go, the longest to march, the most ground to cover. They have the Germans waiting in force. They have the panzers somewhere behind the coast, waiting for orders to attack. They land anyway, they fight anyway. They begin the long advance toward Caen, toward the city that will not fall for another month, toward the battles that will grind on through the summer. But Omaha, always Omaha. 6:45 a.m. The first wave is dead or dying. The second wave is approaching. The men in the boats can see the beach. They can see the bodies. They can see the fire. They know what is waiting. They go anyway. A medic from Michigan lands with the second wave. He carries no weapon, only bandages, morphine, plasma. He runs across the sand, dodging bullets, stepping over bodies. He finds a wounded man, starts working on him, stops the bleeding, gives him morphine. A bullet hits the medic in the shoulder. He keeps working. Another bullet hits him in the leg. He keeps working. A third bullet hits him in the chest. He falls across the wounded man and dies. The wounded man lies beneath him, protected by the medic's body, alive because a man with no weapon gave his life to save him. 7:15 a.m. The naval commanders see the disaster. The beach is not taken. The men are pinned. The casualties are beyond anything predicted. The officers on the destroyers make a decision. They will move closer. They will risk the shallow water, the mines, the German guns. They will go right up to the beach and fire point blank at the bunkers. The destroyers move in. They are small ships, fast, maneuverable. They draw fire from the German guns. They fire back. Their shells are not as big as the battleships, but they are accurate. They hit the bunkers, the pillboxes, the machine gun nests. They give the men on the beach a chance. 7:30 a.m. A colonel from Texas rallies his men. He has lost half his battalion. He has no communication with higher command. He has no idea what is happening on the rest of the beach. He knows only that if they stay here, they die. He stands up, waves his arm, shouts something that no one can hear over the guns. But they see him. They see him standing, moving, leading. They get up and follow. They move up the beach, through the obstacles, through the fire, through the bodies. They reach the seawall at the base of the bluff. They find cover. They catch their breath. They look up at the bluffs, at the bunkers, at the enemy. They have made it this far. Now they have to go farther. 8 a.m. The Rangers arrive. They are the elite, the volunteers, the men who climb cliffs. Their objective is Pointe du Hoc, a headland between Utah and Omaha, where German guns threaten both beaches. The guns are supposed to be there. The Rangers are supposed to climb the cliffs and destroy them. They land at the base of the cliff. The Germans drop grenades on them. They fire down at them. They try to push the ladders away. The Rangers climb anyway. They climb with ropes and ladders and their bare hands. They climb while men fall around them, while bullets hit the rock beside them, while grenades explode above them. They reach the top. They find the guns. The guns are not there. The Germans have moved them inland. The Rangers have climbed a cliff for nothing. But they are on top now. They have the high ground. They fight. They hold. They wait for reinforcements that will not come for 2 days. 8:30 a.m. On Omaha, the men at the seawall prepare to breach the bluff. There are draws, shallow valleys leading up from the beach. The Germans have them covered. Machine guns, mortars, artillery. The men know this. They go anyway. A soldier from Kentucky leads his squad up one of the draws. They move fast, low, using the terrain for cover. The Germans see them. The machine guns open fire. 2 men fall. The rest keep moving. They reach the top. They find the bunker. They throw grenades. They fire their rifles. They clear the position. They look back at the beach and see the chaos below. They have done it. They have broken through. 9 a.m. More men follow. The breaches widen. The Germans cannot cover all of them. The Americans pour through, up the draws, onto the high ground, into the battle. The beach is still dangerous. The guns are still firing. But the line is broken. The invasion has a foothold. On Utah, the men are miles inland. They link up with the paratroopers, the ones who dropped in the dark, the ones who fought all night. Together, they move toward their objectives. The causeways, the bridges, the villages, the ground that must be taken before the Germans can counterattack. On Gold, Juno, Sword, the British and Canadians push inland. They meet resistance, heavy resistance, but they push through. The panzers are still not there. The reserves are still waiting for orders. The beachheads grow. 10 a.m. Rommel is still in Germany, racing toward France in his staff car. He knows now. He knows he was wrong. He knows the invasion is real. He knows the panzers should have been at the beaches. He sits in the back of the car, staring out the window, watching the miles pass, knowing that every mile is a lifetime lost. In Berlin, Hitler sleeps. No one wakes him. The generals are afraid. The Führer does not like to be woken. They wait. The panzers wait. The invasion succeeds while the Führer dreams. 11 a.m. On Omaha, the situation stabilizes. The beach is still dangerous. The guns are still firing. But more men are coming ashore. More equipment is landing. The beachhead expands inch by inch, yard by yard, life by life. A soldier from New York sits on the sand, exhausted, wounded, alive. He looks at the bodies around him. He knew some of them. He trained with them. He ate with them. He laughed with them. They are dead now. He is alive. He does not know why. He does not ask why. There is no answer. 12 p.m. The first reports reach London. Eisenhower reads them in his headquarters. The words blur. Utah successful. Gold successful. Juneau successful. Sword successful. Omaha costly, but holding. The invasion is working. The plan is working. The boys are making it work. He puts down the reports. He lights a cigarette. His hands shake now. They did not shake before. Before there was work to do. Now there is only waiting. He thinks about the boys on the beaches. He thinks about the ones who did not make it. He thinks about the mothers who will receive telegrams. He thinks about the letter in his wallet, the one he will not need. He puts it back and walks outside. The sun is shining over England. The war is not over. It has barely begun. But something has changed. The invasion has happened. The beaches have been taken. The wall has been breached. Nothing will ever be the same. 2 p.m. On Omaha, the last bunkers fall. The Germans retreat, surrender, die. The beach is secure. Not safe, never safe, but secure. The engineers begin clearing obstacles, building roads, creating order out of chaos. The medics work on the wounded. The graves registration teams collect the dead. A chaplain walks among the bodies. He carries a Bible and a prayer book. He stops at each body, says a prayer, moves on. Some of the bodies he recognizes. Men he gave communion to yesterday. Men he heard confession from last week. Men he blessed before they boarded the ships. He prays for them. He prays for their families. He prays for himself. He prays because there is nothing else to do. 4 p.m. The first German counterattacks hit the British beaches. The panzers have finally arrived, ordered to move by someone who finally woke someone who finally made a decision. They hit the British lines hard. The British hold. The tanks burn. The men die. The line holds. 6 p.m. The sun begins to set over Normandy. The beaches are quiet now. Not silent, never silent, but quieter. The guns still fire inland. The planes still fly overhead. The ships still unload. But the great drama of the morning is over. The invasion has succeeded. On Omaha, a soldier sits alone on the bluff overlooking the beach. He looks down at the sand, at the water, at the ships. He sees the bodies still lying where they fell. He sees the wreckage of landing craft, the debris of war, the scars of battle. He thinks about the morning. He thinks about the friends he lost. He thinks about the enemy he killed. He thinks about the life he lived before today, the life that seems so distant now, the life he will never get back. He does not know what tomorrow will bring. He does not know if he will survive the war. He does not know if he will ever see his home again. He knows only that he is here, on this bluff, on this beach, on this day, and that he has done something that matters. He has helped liberate Europe. He has helped defeat the Nazis. He has helped change the world. He sits and watches the sun go down. Behind him, the war continues. Ahead of him, the future waits. But for this moment there is only the sunset and the sea and the silence of the dead. June 6th, 1944, 8 p.m. The sun sets over Normandy. The beaches are quiet now, not silent, never silent, but quieter than they were. The guns still fire inland. The planes still drone overhead. The ships still unload. But the great assault is over. The invasion has succeeded. The men who landed this morning are now miles from the shore, fighting in the hedgerows, advancing through the villages, pushing deeper into France. On Omaha Beach, the tide goes out. The water recedes, leaving behind what it carried in: bodies. Hundreds of bodies. They lie in the sand, in the surf, among the obstacles. Some are whole, some are not. Some are recognizable, some are not. The medics move among them, looking for signs of life. They find few. The graves registration teams follow, collecting the dead, tagging them, preparing them for burial. They work in silence. There is nothing to say. A young soldier from Iowa walks along the beach. He landed this morning, survived, fought, made it to the top of the bluff. Now he's back on the sand, looking for his brother. They enlisted together, they trained together, they shipped out together, they landed in different waves. He has not seen his brother since last night. He walks among the bodies, turning them over, looking at faces. He does not find his brother. He does not know if that is good or bad. He keeps walking. In a field behind Utah Beach, the paratroopers gather. They have been fighting since midnight. They are exhausted, bloody, hollow-eyed. They have lost friends, lost equipment, lost their sense of where they are and what they are doing. But they have taken their objectives. They have secured the exits from the beach. They have done what they were sent to do. A paratrooper from Tennessee sits against a stone wall. He has a bullet wound in his arm, a piece of shrapnel in his leg, a dead friend lying beside him. He does not move. He does not speak. He stares at nothing. A medic comes, bandages his wounds, gives him water. He does not react. The medic moves on. There are others who need help. The paratrooper sits and stares and does not think about anything because thinking is too dangerous. In the headquarters at Southwick House, Eisenhower receives the final reports. The numbers come in, cold and precise: killed, wounded, missing. The totals are higher than predicted. Much higher. Omaha alone has cost thousands. The other beaches have cost thousands more. The paratroopers have lost nearly half their strength. The price of victory is written in the numbers on the page. Eisenhower reads the reports. He does not flinch. He does not cry. He does not show anything. He is the supreme commander. He cannot show anything. Inside he feels the weight of every name, every number, every boy who will not come home. He thinks about the letter in his wallet, the one he wrote for failure. He will not need it now. He does not know if that makes him feel better or worse. He walks outside. The night is clear, cold, full of stars. He lights a cigarette and stands alone, thinking about the boys on the beaches, the boys in the fields, the boys who will never see another sunrise. He thinks about their mothers, their fathers, their sweethearts. He thinks about the telegrams that will arrive in the coming days, the grief that will spread across 2 continents, the lives that will never be the same. He thinks about the decision he made, the decision to go, the decision that sent those boys into the guns. He knows it was the right decision. He knows the invasion had to happen. He knows the world would be darker if it had failed. But knowing does not make the weight lighter. Knowing does not bring the dead back. In Germany, Rommel arrives at his headquarters. He has been driving all day, racing across France, watching the reports come in, knowing that he is too late. He walks into the map room and sees the situation. The Allies are ashore. The beachheads are established. The panzers were too slow, too late, too far away. The battle is lost. He stands at the map and stares at the markers. The red ones, the Allied ones, spreading across the coast. The black ones, the German ones, scattered and confused. He thinks about the morning, about the hours he spent driving while the invasion happened. He thinks about his wife, her birthday, the few hours of peace that cost everything. He thinks about the boys on the beaches, the ones who died because he was not there. He turns away from the map. There is nothing more to see. There is nothing more to do. The war will continue. The fighting will go on. But something has changed. The invasion has succeeded. Germany will lose. It is only a matter of time now. In Berlin, Hitler finally wakes. His staff tells him the news, the invasion, the landings, the failure to stop them. Hitler listens, then explodes. He screams at his generals, his staff, the walls. He demands counterattacks, miracles, the impossible. His generals listen and say nothing. They know the truth. The invasion has succeeded. Germany is finished. They do not say this. They cannot say this. They stand and listen and wait for the storm to pass. In a farmhouse near Sainte-Mère-Église, a French family sits in the dark. They have been hiding all day in the cellar, under the stairs, anywhere safe. They heard the planes, the guns, the explosions. They heard the paratroopers landing, the Germans shouting, the battle raging around their home. Now it is quiet. They do not know if it is safe. They do not know if they are free. They do not know anything except that today was different. Today changed everything. The father opens the door and steps outside. The night air smells of smoke and cordite and something else. Something he cannot name. He walks to the road and sees the first American soldiers. They are young, tired, dirty. They smile at him. He does not understand their words, but he understands their smiles. He begins to cry. He has not cried in 4 years. In London, the news spreads. The invasion has succeeded. The beaches have been taken. The boys are ashore. People gather in the streets, in the pubs, in the churches. They cheer. They cry. They pray. They do not know the details. They do not know the cost. They know only that something great has happened, something that will change the world. In a small house in Iowa, a mother sleeps. She does not know that her son died this morning on a beach in France. She does not know that the telegram is on its way. She sleeps peacefully, dreaming of the day he will come home. She will never stop waiting for that day. In a village in England, a wife sits by the window. Her husband landed at Sword Beach. She has not heard from him. She will not hear for days. She sits and watches the stars and prays. She prays that he is alive, that he is safe, that he will come back to her. She prays because there is nothing else to do. In a field in Normandy, a German soldier lies dead. He was 19 years old. He came from a farm in Bavaria. He wanted to be a farmer like his father. He died this morning, killed by an American bullet, defending a beach he did not believe in, fighting for a cause he did not understand. He lies in the grass, his eyes open to the sky, his blood soaking into the French soil. No one will come for him tonight. No one will come for him ever. On Omaha Beach, the engineers work through the night. They clear obstacles, build roads, create order. They work by floodlight, by moonlight, by the light of burning vehicles. They work because the invasion is not over. The supplies must come. The reinforcements must land. The war must continue. A young engineer from Ohio stops for a moment. He looks at the beach, at the bodies, at the wreckage. He thinks about the morning, about the boys who landed here, about the ones who did not make it. He thinks about his own narrow escape, the bullet that passed inches from his head, the explosion that killed the man next to him. He thinks about luck and fate and the randomness of survival. He does not have words for what he feels. He does not have thoughts. He has only the memory of this day, burned into his mind, a day he will carry for the rest of his life. He turns back to his work. There is nothing else to do. In the headquarters at Portsmouth, the planners begin working on the next phase. The beaches are taken. Now the build-up. Now the breakout. Now the long march across France, into Germany, to Berlin. The war is not over. It is barely begun. But today, June 6th, 1944, will always be the day it turned. Eisenhower stands at the window, watching the stars. He thinks about the letter in his wallet, the one he wrote for failure. He takes it out, reads it one last time. It says that the landing has failed, that the fault is his, that the men have done everything possible. He folds it carefully and puts it back. He will keep it always. A reminder of what might have been. A reminder of the weight of command. A reminder of the boys who died so that he would never have to use it. He thinks about tomorrow. There will be more battles, more deaths, more decisions. There will be no rest, no peace, no end until the war is won. But tonight, for this moment, there is only the silence and the stars and the memory of the longest day. On the beaches of Normandy, the tide goes out and in, washing over the sand, washing over the bodies, washing over the scars. The water carries away the blood, the debris, the evidence of what happened here. But it cannot carry away the memory. It cannot carry away the names. It cannot carry away the price. June 7th, 1944. Dawn breaks over France. The sun rises on a new world. The invasion has succeeded. The wall has been breached. The liberation has begun. And on the beaches, in the fields, in the villages, the dead lie silent, their sacrifice complete, their war over, their names waiting to be remembered. In a field hospital behind Utah Beach, a surgeon works through the night. He has been operating for 20 hours straight. He has lost count of the amputations, the extractions, the deaths. He is exhausted beyond exhaustion, running on caffeine and adrenaline, and the desperate need to save one more life. He looks at the next patient, a boy with no face, and knows there is nothing he can do. He moves to the next. He keeps working. He keeps working because stopping means thinking and thinking means breaking. In a German prison camp, an American paratrooper sits in the dark. He was captured last night, dropped behind enemy lines, surrounded, overwhelmed. He does not know what happened to his unit. He does not know if the invasion succeeded. He does not know anything except that he is alive and a prisoner, and the war is not over for him. He thinks about escape. He thinks about home. He thinks about the friends he will never see again. He waits. In London, the newspapers run the headlines. Invasion. Allies land in France. The photos are grainy, the stories are vague, the truth is hidden behind censorship and propaganda. But the people know. They know that today changed everything. They know that the end is finally in sight. They celebrate. They pray. They wait for the lists of the dead. In Washington, Roosevelt reads the reports. He thinks about the boys who died. He thinks about the mothers who will grieve. He thinks about the election coming in November, the second term he wants, the legacy he will leave. He pushes the thoughts away. There is work to do. There is always work to do. In Moscow, Stalin receives the news. He smiles. The second front is open. The Germans are trapped between two armies. The Red Army will advance. The war will end. The Soviet Union will triumph. He lights a cigarette and looks at the map. The end is coming. He can feel it. On the beaches, the last bodies are collected. The last wounded are evacuated. The last prayers are said. The engineers build their roads. The supply ships unload their cargo. The reinforcements march inland. The invasion continues. A young soldier from California walks past a row of bodies laid out on the sand. They are covered with blankets, with ponchos, with anything that could be found. He does not look at them. He cannot look at them. He keeps walking toward the front, toward the war, toward whatever comes next. He thinks about his mother. He thinks about his father. He thinks about the girl he left behind. He thinks about the life he will return to, if he returns. He does not know if he will. He does not think about that. He thinks about the next step, the next hour, the next moment. One moment at a time, that is how you survive. The sun climbs higher. The day grows warmer. The war goes on. And on a bluff overlooking Omaha Beach, a lone soldier sits and watches the sea. He has been here since yesterday, since the landing, since the friends died beside him. He does not know why he is still here. He does not know why he survived. He knows only that he did, and that the others did not, and that he will carry them with him forever. He stands, picks up his rifle, and walks inland. The war is waiting.